أهلا بكم مشاهدينا عبر فضائية معا. We are welcoming today Madame Audel, the President of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, EBRD. Madame Audel, she took the role in November 2020. She is the first ever woman in this role, in this place. She had many related positions previously. She served as Vice President of the European Economic and Financial Committee, and this is her first visit to the West Bank and Gaza. So welcome, Madame Audel at Ma'an News Agency, and welcome in the West Bank and in Palestine also.
Thank you very much.
So let's start talking about the visit here to Palestine, and you met yesterday with Dr. Mohammed Shtaya. So how was the visit? Let's start with this.
So I'm very happy to be here and to have the opportunity to meet West Bank and Gaza, and to meet our clients and with the authorities also. So I had a very good meeting with the Prime Minister, taking stock of what we've been doing, because the bank has been starting investing in the country in the last 5 years. So we have invested something like 85 million, and we are planning now, we have a new plan for the next 5 years, and with a dedicated financial capacity to invest in the region. So yeah, and we've been doing a lot. We've been doing a lot on the private sector, focusing mainly on the private sector, because this is a main value added and characteristic of the EBRD, and working with the banking sector, but also directly with SMEs, and also with the government in order to promote reform. And we are very proud, for example, to now work with the Minister of Economy on bankruptcy. Regulatory and legislative framework.
I'll get back to this information later. Maybe we'll go and to know more about EBRD. In fact, when was it established, and what's the purpose of it, and what things exactly was it doing here, especially the last 5 years?
So EBRD has been established at the beginning of the 90s, in 91, and we started, and we've been created at the collapse of the Soviet Union. You know, when the new worldwide environment, new geopolitical environment, with a view to our mandate was really to develop post-communist countries, to transition towards market economies, and grow and develop their economy. And so that's why we are focusing very much on the private sector. So our first scope of intervention was Eastern European countries, post-Soviet Union countries, Ukraine, Georgia, Armenia, Caucasus, Russia was one big country of investment for us, and also Central Asia. And then we progressively evolved, and our scope of intervention was enlarged. We started in Turkey, for example, in 2009, and then we started investing in South Mediterranean countries like Egypt, but also Morocco, Tunisia, and Jordan, and then afterwards we started in West Bank and Gaza in 2017.
You took place in November 2020, and this year was the pandemic, was the corona, and many things after that came up, changes in the world, the Ukraine-Russian war, and many other things. How do you face these changes? And you came up in a very specific time.
It's more than changes. I think this is really crisis. There have been, and now a lot of people talk about poly-crisis, because indeed we have had a succession of crises with COVID, which was something extraordinary, with all countries closing up everything, lockdowns, but then when the economies were starting to recover and countries reopening and things to starting again, then came the war on Ukraine, and which has a huge impact on energy prices, food prices, and created a lot of tension also. So this is a new element of crisis. which is still with us. So I think that these are challenging times for globally. It also there is a lot of changes in the geopolitics with the war, and which was something very in Europe. Nobody was expecting a war on Europe. In Europe,
exactly.
Recently. And
Did this change your plans?
So it changed. We completely pulled out of any investments since 2014. So the first beginning, the real beginning of the war in Ukraine, with Crimea and so forth, we stopped investing in Russia, and now we completely pulled out of Russia. So which used to be one of our very important countries of operation. We also stopped investing in Belarus. So and now we are very much. The bank is very strongly supporting Ukraine and investing. Despite the war situation, we are investing a lot in Ukraine in order to support the real economy of the country.
With coming back to your visit to Palestine, you said you talked about investing in the banking sector, especially here in this area, in the West Bank and Gaza. Why? This sector.
So we are not investing in the banking sector, but through the banking sector. Because
how is that?
The banking sector is very solid and very strong, I think, and also it's a very good way for us to have a capacity to lend to SMEs, because the banking. We provide credit line to the banks for them to lend more to SMEs, and we can have targeted program, for example, with technical assistance, advisory activity to support women in business. We had this new credit line with some local banks here, and this is a very effective way to support women entrepreneurs. And so this, for us, this is something we've been doing in the last 5 years.
What about
another example is support to greening. Helping companies to increase their energy efficiency, develop renewable energy, and so forth.
We've seen you, like before we start this interview, we've seen you with women in a meeting, in a workshop. What things were you doing?
So one part of our activities here is advisory activities. So we, with a partnership with the EU, we have developed advisory services business, which is we provide SMEs with advisory consultancy support. For example, and the meeting we just had was with a number of SMEs we've helped, we've accompanied them in developing, for example, their strategic planning in order to enhance their capacity to develop export, capacity to grow in new market, develop marketing function, and so forth. So this is a very powerful instrument in order for SMEs to get some free advice in a way, targeting their needs and helping them to grow, to develop, to export more in a challenging environment. But I was very happy because they were very positive about the impact of what we've been doing with them, and I was very impressed by the innovation, the energy, the willingness to develop, and the capacity to develop new kind of business, from embroidery to new digital platform for SMEs. So a lot of very diverse range of activity, but a lot of enthusiasm and energy.
Do you have plans to invest with or through other sectors in Palestine?
So we will continue. We will remain focused on supporting the private sector, SMEs. And key priorities for us is, as I was saying, the green agenda, in order to help them also to be more energy efficient, another focus is on women in business, so we will continue to do this and to develop also innovative products. I had a meeting before with a team who had developed a very innovative impact bond, social impact bond, which was the first time we did it, first time the World Bank did it, and it was focusing on employment for young people. So very effective instrument. So we are exploring and will continue to work on all these areas.
Do you have any contributions in Palestine or internationally in non-profit development projects?
So we have some, as a bank, we do not, we are for profit in a way, but I mean we are for profit, but it's a public development bank, not a multilateral development bank. So our owners are government, and we recycle every profit we do in providing further support to the countries and technical assistance and so forth. And we have some staff-driven initiatives. So when our staff support some non-profit activity, we can have a community initiative. We accompany them, so providing additional support. And we've been doing that, for example, in Ukraine and in Turkey, which has been affected very dramatically by the earthquake recently.
Yeah. So what makes you different from any other bank?
Oh, because we want to have an impact. So we are not just looking for return, but we are really willing to have an impact. And as I was saying, any return we do is helping us to invest more. So we do not have nobody has dividend from our bank, but we are really targeting on impact. And as I was saying, we have really 3 key priorities: developing the economy, greening the economy, but also inclusion and facilitating social inclusion, young inclusion, women inclusion, and so it's a specific bank, like a multilateral development bank focusing on development more than on profit.
Yeah, we've seen, I've seen this in, we invest in changing lives. So I was wondering, how do you measure the changes you add to
it's
the
difficult.
lives?
So we try to have ways to measure, for example, to measure the impact we have on carbon emission, job creation, economic activity. So it's we have a sort of a number of indicators to measure what has been the impact. We work, for example, also a lot on some countries in water, irrigation, and so forth. So we try to measure the impact on water saved or quality of water and so forth. So we try to have qualitative indicators that help measuring our impact.
So okay. I'll go to your visit also to Palestine, but we'll ask about what things did you notice more during your 2 days visit to the West Bank and Gaza? How was your meetings with the officials here? How was it in general?
So very good meeting. And what I noted is that the country is facing challenges, and because it's a difficult political situation, difficult relationship. With Israel, a lot of hurdles in the economic development and financial capacity. I think the financial challenge for the Palestinian authorities are important, and the budget situation is challenging. But on the other hand, I was really struck by the energy, the resilience of Palestinians, their capacity to create, to develop new business. As I was saying, I've seen a lot of private sector people working in the private sector and really committed to do and putting a lot of energy and to develop activities and to help the country growing and becoming more prosperous. So I think I found that very positive and very encouraging. I had also a meeting with important pharmaceutical companies, which is really, developing and been working in the last long period of time to develop a business which is very important for the country.
Yeah. What cities did you visit in Palestine?
What is it? I visit only
only Ramallah.
Only Ramallah. I didn't have time to do much more,
but
I will come back.
Did you try the food here?
Sorry?
Did you try the food here?
Very good, excellent. Actually, iftar, we had an iftar yesterday, dinner, which was excellent.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. What plans do you have for Palestine in the future?
I think our plan is to continue to support the country, to develop, to grow, to become more prosperous and have an economy more diversified and be really sustainable and keep people here also. I think that one of the challenges is really to create the jobs needed in order for the young people to remain in the country and have a good life.
So thank you so much, Madame Audel, for the interview, for your time also, and we're looking forward to have other meetings with you and interviews in the coming days in the future, maybe when you have other visits to Palestine.
With pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.